Okay, so there's two related things that we're talking about. Non-location experiencing and being timeless. So this is your sense of time, time travel, your connection to time, how old you think you are, and all the rest of it as a broad category. Now, these two things are related, and we'll discuss them, and they're also foundational things. So we're going to have to explain them in a few different ways, and we'll come at it from a few different angles. Now, first of all, non-location experiencing. Here's how this works. If I tell you to sit down and close your eyes and think of a beach, or imagine you're on a beach. Now, you've had this experience before, and you can, to some degree, do that, right? You can, to varying depths, imagine that you are on the beach. Now, part of how deep that experience is how well I describe the beach. Yes, I can turn it into a visualization process where instead of me just saying, sit down, close your eyes, and imagine you're on a beach, which is very straightforward instructions, I would draw out the instructions and I would turn it into a process visualization, right? I would say, sit down, close your eyes, and imagine the sand. Imagine the sand on your feet. Imagine the sound of the waves. Imagine the sound of the seagulls. Imagine the smell of the salt air. Imagine the chaos of the waves crashing. Imagine there might be some other people around. Yeah? And so on and so forth. Yeah, we build up the world. We build up the experience. Now, you notice immediately, just with this description, you're deeper in the experience. You're more in the imagination, the visualization, with more detailed description. And that is one of the factors of non-location experiencing. That is one of the factors of really having the experience as an experience. Now, another factor is the physical location of where you're having the experience. So if you're in a sensory deprivation tank and you're listening to this visualization, or you're in a padded cell which is soundproof and there's no sound and it's completely dark, then that's like the ideal situation because there's no distractions, there's nothing coming in, right? But if you're listening to this sensation, right, this visualization, and there's a car that beeps at you, or there's a dog barking, or there's someone that comes and knocks on the door and says, hey, what are you doing? Or your phone rings, or there's just general sound in the environment, then there's going to be those things that take you away from the visualization, yeah? They're going to be those things that take you away from the depth of the experience. So that's the other factor. First factor being the process of the visualization and the description, which you can either do as a guided process or you can do yourself. And the second can be the isolation of your current environment. And that's going to determine the depth. Now, the other factor is how long you stay in that visualization, how long you stay in that as a process. Now, this is a little bit tricky because the mind wants things to be changing just enough to keep you distracted, but not too much that you become broken from the storyline, yeah? So if we were really doing this well, we would create a story and you would actually start doing things on the beach, yeah? So the visualization guidance would say, sit down, imagine the beach, imagine the waves, hear the sounds, smell the salt air, and then you would start doing things and it would be this narrative, right? There'd be a sort of mythological complex component to it. Usually, when you're by yourself, you're thinking about something and you sort of think about it for a while and then you go off and you think about something else. You might be thinking about, it's so nice to be on the beach. But then you go off and think, I have to do this thing for work, or I've got this appointment coming up, or that person said something to me, or whatever it is that you think, right? And then you go back to being on the beach and that's your fantasy and that's your visualization. With the length of how long you stay in the visualization, you think it through and you stay there, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, what happens is, with this process of non-location experiencing, you begin with the mind, and once it gets deeper through these three factors of isolation, visualization, and length of time being in it, your bodily sensation will start to open to the emotion. Yeah, it'll start to have a physiological reaction. This is neurologically, this has been scientifically proven now. This is seen again and again through visualization, that your mind affects the body through this way. Now, the physiological process will then start to open up your perceptions, and you will start to have the experience as an experience. Now, this is the essence of non-location experiencing. This is the essence of having an experience that is not the experience of your immediate surrounds. Now, this is different to just thinking about something that is not your immediate surrounds. Yeah? You can think about a beach just as soon as I say, think about the beach. All right? You think about the beach? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Now, that's not an experience. You're still experiencing me talking here. You're still experiencing the environment that you're in. You're still experiencing the sounds and the atmosphere of where you are. To experience it, you go through the mind deeper, deeper, and deeper until you reach a certain point, and you can say, well, where do we draw the line between experience and thinking? Where do we draw the line between visualization and experience? Well, the best answer to that is there's degrees of depth. There's degrees as a spectrum, yeah? There's a deeper experience the deeper you go into the visualization. And the fact that humans can do this, the fact that this is possible, is extremely significant, because it means you can experience again anything that you have already experienced. You can go back into a memory and relive it anytime you want. You are literally the sum of all your experiences. You are literally experientially as rich as all that you have experienced. Now, here's how this comes into being timeless. When you are living as a timeless being, experiences that you had a very long time ago can appear very immediately, very presently. Now, you can see this very much in trigger words, right? If you have a negative experience, say you have a very traumatic experience at the beach, and then all of a sudden someone says, I went to the beach the other day. And they don't know you, and they don't know about your trauma. They don't know about this experience that you've had. But them just saying, I went to the beach the other day, gives you this thought, gives you this memory, and suddenly your heart is beating, you're feeling nervous, and you're having this reaction, right? There's a physiological reaction, and it's so quickly. You haven't even sat down and done this long visualization. It's right there. It's immediate, yes? That is significant because it shows that your experiences can be there. Now, of course, this happens for trauma, this happens for negative experiences, but what you may not realize so clearly is that it also happens for beautiful experiences. It also happens for those times that are amazingly beautiful. Now, think of the time in your life when you had the most amazing orgasm. Yeah, the best sexual experience. You can remember that. And just in a second, that can come back and that can bring a physiological reaction to you, yeah? There's a bodily sensation to that. Now, we can do the same for food. Imagine that time when you had the best food. That meal, yeah, right? Doesn't take much for your saliva to start, for your mouth to start salivating and that memory to come back. Now, think of the significance of this. Think of what this means for experiences that you had a very long time ago that are right here, right now. And they're immediate, they're very present. And that's a little bit about non-location experiencing. So I'm going to talk more about this. This is being timeless and non-location experiencing. It's an ongoing discussion, and before we go any further, I do need your help with engagement on the channel. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, so please do subscribe Engage by leaving a comment. What is your experience of non-location experiencing? And I'll be back in the next talk, which will be about being timeless.